AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Our next big AM 560 event is coming up Tuesday, April 25th. This is one you'll want to attend. We're calling it Beyond the Talking Points, presented by Fox Valley Coins. It'll feature me sitting down one-on-one with Juan Williams for a cage match. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. No.
Yeah, who's it going to be?
No, it'll just be Juan Williams and me. Juan Williams from Fox News, of course.
Oh, yeah.
For a moderated conversation about all the issues of the day, the 24 election, the Trump indictment, the economy, the war in Ukraine, immigration, so much more. Make sure you join us on April 25th at the Meridian Banquet and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Tickets on sale at 560theanswer.com/beyond, 560theanswer.com/beyond. There's a VIP reception with me and Juan, and those tickets are selling fast. So make sure to get your tickets at 560theanswer.com/beyond. Thank you to our sponsors, Joe Cotton Ford and Carol Stream, Woodlawn Windows and Doors, Blue Star Security, and the Blue Label Cigar Lounge in Lockport. So the next frontier for waging war is the mind, and I don't mean Russian Facebook campaigns. Give me an example. Did you see this palm wave technology? Where
I'm already freaking out about AI because my pastor actually had a sermon about it this past Sunday. But okay, go on. What's the wave thing?
Panera, the restaurant chain. Panera is rolling out Amazon-powered palm scanning technology that will allow customers to pay for their orders and collect loyalty rewards by scanning their palms.
No.
Which allows Amazon to store their biometric data for future purchases and whatever else.
This is Gattaca.
Sort of. Panera and Amazon say that using your palm print and allowing them access to it will allow restaurant staff to greet customers by name and provide a highly personalized experience.
High five and then, oh, hi, Amy. Yeah, no. No.
Right. I don't want to get that friendly with the staff at Panera.
I mean, I'm pleasant and cordial, but leave me alone. I want alone time, and I just don't want to talk to anybody.
Right. So that's actually on the more innocuous front. Think about something like what the Chinese do, the Chinese Communist Party, of course, I mean. The Chinese State Electric Grid Company is requiring tens of thousands of its workers to wear Enertech helmets. What? Enertech, wasn't that where the Office Space guys worked? Enertech? I thought so. But this is a real world Enertech. I hear you're missing a lot of work lately, Peter. No, I don't hear it. I know it because I have an Enertech helmet on your... Enertech helmets embedded with brainwave measuring sensors to detect fatigue and other mental states.
I'm not putting one of those.
Well, the Chinese Communist Party probably isn't asking.
Right. I don't think you have a choice.
It's really, and by the way, this sort of research into the ability to essentially control minds has been going on for quite some time, including in our own government. There are documented CIA programs and other such projects. So just where is this going to go, and what should we be most skeptical about? To help us understand this, we're pleased to be joined by Nita Farahany. She is the Robinson O. Everett Professor of Law and Philosophy and the founding director of the Initiative for Science and Society at Duke University. Her book, The Battle for Your Brain, Defending the Right to Think Freely in the Age of Neurotechnology. Professor Farahany, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So this is, where sci-fi becomes reality. I guess, this is one of the things we talk about actually a lot is, the Orwellian, George Orwell or Kurt Vonnegut or Cormac McCarthy, all these dystopian novels are coming true. Right. Of course they're coming true because those authors understood the nature of man. That's why they could predict such horrors that man would impose upon himself. And so do we have that afoot here with the advances in neurotechnology?
Yes, I mean, what we have, you described what is happening in China already, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So already there are a huge number of neurotech companies that are introducing brain sensors into our everyday lives. These are not unlike the heart rate sensors people have in their watches and the sensors that pick up their steps, but it's also very unlike those in that what it's picking up is brain activity, and brain activity tells us a lot more about what you're thinking and feeling than what your heart rate or anything else does. And, depending on how that technology is used, if it's a sensor like somebody uses at home to track their number of steps or to track their focus or their brain health, maybe it's not so bad. But when it's used and imposed by companies and by employers and by the state, then it starts to look a lot like a Orwellian nightmare of being able to even monitor what, is going on in our very brains.
Well, how crazy is this going to get? I mean, where do we go from here? How is this going to be advanced?
Well,
further?
it is really the next frontier. So you were talking earlier about AI.
Mm-hmm.
AI and the, kind of engineering advances are really what make these technologies powerful. So AI enables pattern detection and classification, and brainwave data, which can be picked up from these brain sensors, are big patterns that can be decoded over time, right? So if you can train AI on huge numbers of brainwave data sets from people, you can start to figure out, like, oh, when brainwave activity looks like this, the person is happy or sad or their mind is wandering or paying attention. And all of the major tech titans, from Meta to Google to Apple to Microsoft, have huge bets on taking these brain sensors and embedding them into everyday devices like earbuds and headphones and watches, which again could enable people to track a lot of things about their own health and well-being and brains. But already there are employers who are requiring people to have their fatigue levels tracked. Already governments are using neurotechnology worldwide to interrogate criminal suspects for recognition of crime scene details. So, it could go badly very quickly if we don't actually get out ahead of this major new category of technology and decide we're going to govern this one differently, right? What happens in our brains and mental experiences is a far cry from the number of steps we take each day, and we need special rights and privacy to enable us to continue to think freely.
Right. So this is always the problem, and this is how liberty is encroached upon. Is there's clearly some benefits to the technological innovations, and the benefits are extolled, and the potential pitfalls are sort of diminished and not talked about. So I know I think from your book I read there's a South Korean company that can track indication of early onset Alzheimer's, like brain deterioration,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's a great innovation, and that's something that's positive, particularly if it proves to be accurate.
Probably even more powerfully and immediately is the fact that there are companies that already have the ability to detect minutes to an hour before it happens for an epileptic seizure. And for people who suffer from epilepsy, that could be transformative. But you're right. People either look at the, play-based and game-based and novelty features or the health features, and they rarely stop to think about what the much bigger picture and the risks are. And I think the risks of opening up our brains, making them transparent to companies and to governments, is probably a much bigger risk than any other category of technology that we've introduced. It's really transformational to suddenly have that one area of privacy that we have fall to, outside interest. And so we have to be talking about the implications before blindly going into this new frontier of technology.
Well, because based on what you're saying, it would, think about the debate we're having about free speech and the arguments about the lack thereof. So that's speech. Now you're really getting into the potential of identifying and prosecuting in various ways, civilly and maybe criminally, thought crimes.
We have a little ways to there in that you can't decode full thought, but it isn't that far of a distance. Already the EnterTech helmets that you mentioned that are being used in China, while you can't decode what a person is thinking, you can get their reaction to messaging that you present, for example. So in China, there are reports that those same people who are being required to have their brain activity monitored for fatigue have been presented with Communist Party messaging from the PRC, and then they're looking at how their brain reacts to that messaging. Are they, happy, sad, disgusted, angry? Are they reacting to it favorably and positively or negatively, and then using that information to make discriminatory choices against them? And so, it's very easy to see how this could go badly quickly. You talked about the palm scanning for Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the Minority Report.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Pre-crime.
Yeah, and right, like there was pre-crime, but there was a scene in which, one of the characters walks into, I think, the Gap, and there's eye scanning that happens, and they're like, "Welcome, Mr. Whatever it was, welcome back. Do you want to get more T-shirts today?" And you can imagine pretty quickly how corporations, if they know what your brain-based reaction to their advertisements are, which they're already investing heavily in through neuromarketing techniques, but here they could have much more precise data, like you're scrolling through your social media feed at the same time your brain activity is being measured through these devices, and your very reaction to everything in that feed can be measured and decoded and commodified and sold. The precision with which you can be targeted and manipulated becomes much more profound with this technology. And so we really have to put into place safeguards now if we want to realize any of those health benefits, if we do think that there are benefits that we want to take advantage of. And we have to be talking about those risks today before blindly going in and saying, oh, yeah, I want to track my brain for focus or track my brain for, how I can improve it or the risks of Alzheimer's disease.
So, maybe this is tangential, but I just wonder how much of this is being driven by the sort of the futurists who believe that we can get Walt Disney's head out of cold storage and put him on a titanium body and download his brain. And they want to download, in a serious note, like people that want to download their own brains and live forever digitally. Right. I mean, how much of this is driven by them?
It's a good question. So the second to last chapter of my book is called Beyond Human. And what you're talking about are a group who sort of self-identify as transhumanist. And I talk about that in The Battle for Your Brain, about the ambition of, a lot of neurotechnology, especially implanted neurotechnology. We've been talking about these wearable sensors, but, Neuralink being developed by Elon Musk and a whole host of other companies are trying to figure out, could you literally have implanted technology that could enable people to communicate and enable people to move again who can't do so, but at the same time record brain activity so that you could upload your memories and create, uploaded minds and brains? And could you push neuroscience to the place where you could have brains in cold storage? I talk about the companies that are doing that, like Alcor, and the people who are investing in it hopes that one day they could live forever or eliminate suffering or massively increase longevity. So it's a part of it for sure. It's not the only part, but it is where some of the major investors, at least in implanted technology, the reason that they're at the table is this hope of being able to, be billionaires forever because they never die.
Yeah, it's great. Amy, look forward to the new and improved Dan Proft in about 2100.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you'll still be single.
It doesn't take
exactly
you that long. You could self-improvement today. You don't need to wait until then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Dan.
It's fascinating and frightening at the same time. Professor Nita Farahany, she's the Robinson O. Everett Professor of Law and Philosophy and the founding director of the Initiative for Science and Society at Duke University. Sorry about that loss to Tennessee. That cost me in my pool. New book, The Battle for Your Brain, Defending the Right to Think Freely in the Age of Neurotechnology. Professor Farahany, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Real estate, it's a moving target. If you need a real pro to help you, that's Annette Kelovec. She knows the western suburbs. A multi-million-dollar agent that offers integrity, honesty, and yes, a sense of humor for this